later on in the show. Now, I'm delighted to welcome actor and activist Michael Sheen and chef, restaurant owner and charity volunteer Asma Khan. Now, Asma, you've seen firsthand the devastating impact of hunger. And is that why it's such a personal issue to you?
Yes, it is. I grew up in India and I used to do a lot of voluntary work in orphanages, in the slums in Calcutta. And I actually held a child who died because of starvation in my lap. And you read about this, you hear about starvation. The fact that someone died because they didn't have food was so, it really hit me so hard. It's an image I will live with my whole life. And, whatever I've been able to do the rest of my life, I've always tried to kind of help and volunteer and, increase awareness of this. Because a lot of people who have never been hungry, they cannot imagine what hunger is like, and it can lead to death.
Wow, it's just an unimaginable thought, but no, thank you for that. Now, Michael, you've made it very well known about how important you see activism and you've actually said your career is now going to be second to your activism. Why is it such an important subject for you?
Well, I suppose, first of all, who doesn't love listening to a celebrity like me talking about poverty? But, of course, that's one of the problems, is that the people who are experiencing it day by day very rarely, if ever, get a platform to be able to speak about it themselves. And we have to remember that there is enough money in the world to eradicate poverty. So you could say the problem isn't poverty, the problem is wealth and politics. I come from an area in South Wales Valleys that is part of a system that decided that work could be done cheaper and easier elsewhere. So poverty hit the areas that I came from, a long time ago. But I, myself, personally, had a lot of opportunity, and I've been able to accrue, a certain amount of wealth and resource, and I just feel like I want to be able to use that in whatever way I can whilst I have it, because I won't have it forever, to be able to, create a little bit more access to opportunity and a bit more fairness wherever I can find it.
Well, it's an incredible example, and, thank you, Michael, for doing that. And Asma, it was a global concert, an event like this, that had a life-changing effect on you, didn't it?
Yes, it did. I had just turned 16. And, in India at that time, in 1985, 84, at that time, you didn't get to see a lot of international television. It was very restricted state kind of media. But we all saw Live Aid. And that just blew me away. The fact that there were so many people around the world, and there was music, and it was just incredible. And I remember this Phil Collins flying from London on the Concorde across. And it made me realize that, activism works. If you have a lot of people, just ordinary people, getting together, and through music, through conversations, you can make a difference. And Live Aid was the first time I'd seen a live concert on TV. I was 16. It was the day after my birthday. I'll never forget that. And so when I was asked, to come to this, it really excited me. This matters a lot because I know that we can make the difference and we can put pressure. In the end, the leaders owe us an explanation of what they're doing with our money.
Powerful words. And that's what events like this are about, bringing the world together to try and make a difference. And thank you to all of you for coming together today, Asma, Michael and David.
Thank you.
Now, watching those actions with us is BBC News' science editor, David Shukman. And David, what stood out for you?
Well, it's always inspiring to hear a flurry of commitments, of donations of that scale. I think it's quite striking to see the range of targets they're aiming at. Food security, education, climate change, the fact that it's governments and that it's corporations. I think that's all for the good and positive. I think a lot of questions remain at the same time about precisely the timescales for delivery, precisely who gets the money, over what time.
Yeah.
And I think, there's a little bit of a history sometimes of bold promises not always getting delivered. So I think a lot of people will want a forensic examination of precisely what happens next.
I'm sure that is to come. Now, do you think these leaders could go further?
I think they need to, if they want the COP26 climate summit in Glasgow in November to deliver what's expected of it, because years ago, developing countries were promised $100 billion a year to help them deal with climate change. And the richest nations have never quite got to that 100 billion target. So the next few weeks are absolutely critical to see if that happens. And I think right now, at the same moment, the governments who might be considering how much they can give are, of course, weighing up challenges with the cost of living, the soaring gas price, all of the difficulties associated with that. And they'll be wary of perhaps looking too generous in case there's a bit of a backlash from their citizens back home.
So it's a delicate balance that they have to...
Very much so. They know, they've got their scientists effectively screaming at them that if they don't take action on climate change soon, things, including costs, are going to get a whole lot worse down the track. So the time for action is right now, but there are problems every day right now with queues for people trying to get petrol and all the rest of it, and coping with gas prices. So, yeah, a very difficult balance.
And it's important to remember the words of Nelson Mandela, I think, that ending poverty is not charity, it's justice.
Thank you.
Right.
Michael and David, thank you very much, guys.
Now,
Player. Now, I'm delighted to say that Michael Sheen is still with us. Have you enjoyed what you've seen? I saw you was tapping your foot and nodding your head to that.
I love it when Ed Sheeran does all that looping. It's fantastic.
All that looping stuff. Now, Michael, you've spoken earlier about how you believe that artists who have a profile should use their platform to do good. You know, why do you think that's so important?
Well, I don't know about do good. I think the important thing is to be clear about what the strategy is. Is it about ending poverty, or is it about managing poverty? Because poverty management is something that can all too often be used to allow governments and big, powerful transnational corporations and super wealthy individuals to engage in these sort of issues like climate change and extreme poverty without really getting involved in the difficult, systemic, structural problems that need to happen in order to make these changes. And it's too important to just tinker around the edges as a sort of PR exercise. So we have to hold the people with the levers of power to account to make sure that they use them, rather than just saying empty promises, you know, nice commitments, but actually not following through with them. I think that's really important.
Because these artists have that platform, they can speak to a wider audience.
Yeah, or enable other people, or, you know, allow other people to speak. You know, shine the light on other people's platforms. People have to speak up about it and make sure that these things are followed through with.
Now, this is a big question, but I think you can give it a go. But, I mean, what do you think is the answer to tackling extreme poverty?
Oh, yeah, that is a big question. But, all right, well, look, I mean, from 1990 until very recently, huge strides happened. I mean, the fact that child and young children's mortality rates came down so much meant that fewer children were dying from preventable diseases, malnourishment, you know, malnutrition, no access to clean water and that kind of stuff. So the fact that children are being saved in that way is a great thing. The fact that people's promises and commitments, they didn't live up to them completely, but the collaboration, the holding people to account, the making them, you know, sign what they're going to do, that does make a difference. So we have to keep pushing that. It's only last year that the extreme poverty rate started to go up again. So we have to remember that we have made great strides, but we've got to push these people and these governments to account, hold them to account.
Thank you very much, Michael.